What's going on, fellow freelancers? Coming at you today with another Anthem video. Today we're going to discuss the game's current state, the story, no spoilers, the biggest issues the game currently has, and my personal issues and thoughts overall. Stay tuned. Okay, so I want to start this video off by stating that the live game is miles ahead of where it was in the demo. I mean, no joke. It's vastly different for the better. Okay, the spawn rates of the creatures and the events in the open world have been vastly beefed up since the demo. It feels a lot more alive and a lot more engaging than it did in the demo. The exploration is also a huge plus for those of us who enjoy that sort of thing. There are tons of things hidden throughout the world. It really takes advantage of the map's verticality. You have hidden chests and caves, ruins, collectibles, Cortex entries, which is the game's lore, etc. There's many little nooks and crannies all over the place, from up in the mountains to down below, under caves, underwater, etc. Tons of places to really explore. Plus, the world is gorgeous, so it's an absolute joy to traverse around and explore. You could get lost for hours doing this, again, if it's your kind of thing. Now, it's important to note that although with the launch of the 15th, they did come several patches and fixes, but it has been stated multiple times that there are roughly 1,000-ish changes between the demo and the live game, the vast majority of which won't even go live in the game until the actual game's release on the 22nd. So some of the issues that people are having right now in the early release will more than likely be fixed and or patched come Friday. So that's a good thing to note for those that are upset. Let's start off with the story. No spoilers here. Now, the story is engaging and rather fun. The characters are enjoyable and the overall feel of the plot is very satisfying. The main story can be expanded by doing side missions, contracts, and even optional missions that tie directly into the main story. The 3 missions we were able to play during the demo are in that such category. Those are not main story quests. Those are actually side quests that are directly connected to the main story, and there are several of those. Now, like all BioWare games, for those that were curious about this, your choices in this game do matter. Now, while there are no actual set romances, you can still bond with and strengthen the relationships with the many characters throughout the game, throughout Fort Tarsis, etc. Your choices also affect Fort Tarsis itself, and will cause it to change over time depending on the choices you make. Some are subtle, but most are not. These changes bring about things like new areas of Fort Tarsis to explore, as well as new missions and tasks to undertake, new characters to meet, etc. Now, many of the characters in this game are genuinely fun to talk to and can be quite funny. Walking around the fort and conversing with these people feel extremely satisfying, especially for those of us who really enjoy BioWare games. Like back in Mass Effect, walking around the Normandy or the Tempest, talking with all your crewmates. A lot of people, if you enjoy that kind of thing, or walking around Skyhold in Dragon Age, if you enjoy doing that, you will very much enjoy your time in Fort Tarsis. It's very enjoyable and very reminiscent of what you'd expect from a BioWare game. Now, the game is extremely fun. The combat is very fluid. But it does have its issues. That's just common sense. Every new game has bugs and issues. Now, what I believe to be the biggest issue in this game right now is the community itself. Now, hear me out. Even though Anthem is technically a looter shooter, you should absolutely not go into this game expecting anything close to what you may be, quote, used to. Okay? Anthem is an RPG, first and foremost. The gunplay and the shooting mechanics is very much a secondary function. The game focuses much more on the actual abilities and the combo systems rather than the guns themselves. For example, the Ranger and the Colossus are the only ones who really even use their weapons at all. Most of the time you'll be using your abilities way more. My Interceptor, I never touch my weapon, ever. I have a shotgun equipped for when I might need it up close, and I have a long-range weapon for the times where I'm forced away from the enemy. But for the most part, about 95% of the time, never even touch my weapon, because they're not needed. Interceptor does not, if you have the right build, your Interceptor does not need weapons, period. The Storm, same thing. Depending on your abilities, if you're using abilities with longer cooldowns, you're going to snipe and or shoot in between your cooldowns, yes. But if you're using the right abilities, you'll never touch your weapons, ever. With the exception of the occasional snipe, if that's your thing. Considering they're a floating class, it would make sense to have a snipe and or marksman type weapon. Now, the Ranger is like a soldier. Think soldier from Mass Effect. They will rely the most on their weapons out of the 4 javelins. You're going to throw your grenade, you're going to fire your missile, spark beam, venom darts, whatever you want to do, but you will rely mostly on your actual guns. They're the only class that really relies on them at all. The Colossus does use weapons, yes, but they are the only ones that can use the heavy weapons, like the grenade launchers, and all those do fall under the actual weapons. They don't feel the same as like your assault rifles and your shotguns. Plus, they have the mortars, the railguns, the flamethrowers, which although technically, quote, weapons, they are the Colossus's abilities and therefore do not fall under the same purview as the standardized guns. So, to recap, if you're looking for a shooter, specifically a shooter like your Destiny or your Division, Anthem is not for you. I've seen a lot of people complaining about how they're not happy with Anthem's gunplay, and there's a reason for that. It's because the gunplay is an afterthought. It is not what the game is designed to be. It is not how it is designed to be played. The guns are there on an as-needed basis. They are very, very rarely actually needed and or required to do this game effectively. Rolling right into main issues for the game. I would say the biggest issue for the game is the load screens. There are far too many of them. Now, let's be fair here. Depending on your build, they're not that long. And they're actually much better than most of the games out there. There's just too many of them. It's a little immersion breaking. And I'll get into that more later with my personal thoughts. Let's move on to microtransactions. Now that the game is officially out and we have actually seen the store live in person, the current price points are more than fair. They're well beyond your market norm for games of this type, okay? But you should also keep in mind that everything you can buy with real money, you can also unlock naturally simply by playing the game. The in-game currency coins are actually quite easy to farm for, and you can earn roughly, I'd say, $8 to $10 of real money worth of shards in a few short hours of playing the game. So all in all, not bad. We do have a further confirmation, though it was confirmed months ago, but now, for few naysayers out there, loot boxes are indeed non-existent, as is any pay-to-win or pay-for-power options. Now, when compared straight up to other AAA titles on the market right now, Anthem's microtransaction system is vastly better and far more fair than most. This brings me to my biggest issues with the game personally. Now, let me preface by saying I love this game. I do. And I love BioWare. I've always enjoyed their massively immersive games and their insane storytelling. which Anthem has in spades, with the exception of a few things. And they're very immersion breaking, which bothers me. First of all, the amount of load screens. Not necessarily how long the load screens last, because let's face it, some of them are only like 2 to 5 seconds. Whoop-de-doo. The length is not the issue, it's the sheer amount of them. They could easily roll the load screens into something else, like several other games do. Like, for example, when you click on Start an Expedition, you go through that cutscene where you're putting your suit on. Why can't that be the load screen? How about one of the early E3 videos where we saw that ranger ride up the elevator and then the mask drops down and then they walk through the door and boom, they're on the Fort Tarsis. Why can't that act as a load screen? Why can't they come up with, let's say you click on the forge and it zooms over to your javelin on the platform, the javelin spins around, and then that can act as the load screen going into the forge, or even out of in a reverse option. There's many ways they could do this to keep the load screens in the game, but not break immersion by just showing us a freaking load screen every 2 seconds. Another thing that's very immersion breaking is the forced first person in Fort Tarsis. It just feels extremely unnatural. And what's even worse is when you click on an NPC at an awkward angle, it automatically like floats you around in front of them before the cutscene / conversation actually begins. That is bizarre. It does not feel natural at all. The way that you move, the way that you look around, the way that it feels like you're watching a point of view video as an outside observer rather than being there. I know the concept of first person is supposed to be looking through the eyes of your character, but you can't move your head. I mean, if it was a VR setting, it would be completely different. But you hear a bizarre voice that is not your own. Now, the voice itself is not bizarre. I'm just saying the fact that you click an option and you hear a voice that is not your own, that automatically breaks any chance that, okay, this is me. All right? And then the unnatural floating to the side, as I mentioned earlier, plus the wonky movement and looking around. I'm not talking about speed. I know that's been fixed. I just mean the actual moving. Swishing side to side feels very unnatural. It feels like your whole body is moving as one like cohesive piece, which is just not how it is in reality. You don't see, you know, one of the best things about like your Mass Effect games was seeing your character. Facial expressions and, you know, hand motions, the animation of the character being very alive as they speak. Getting to know the character's personality based upon that. The point of a role-playing game is to assume the role of somebody else, not to portray yourself. So first person is extremely immersion breaking in a game like this. And the final thing that bothers me the most about this is the forced auto boot after missions. Like a stronghold, for example. You complete the boss, boom, you got like 4 seconds and automatically boots you out to the expedition screen. This is insane. There are several facets in the game where you'll go into like a dungeon, and once you're done, there's a little triangular shaped platform on the ground where you have to walk up and click on it to exit. It should be this way across the board, even in strongholds. I know a lot of people are upset that there's no like treasure chest from the final bosses of the stronghold. That's neither here nor there. I don't really care. While that would be nice, it's not really something that ruins anything because you still get the loot in the expedition screen. But auto booting us out is very immersion breaking. It's very dissatisfying. I like being able to run around and check out the cave, because you go in the room, the boss spawns, you fight the boss, and then boom, you're booted out. You don't even get to really run around and explore, look at stuff. I mean, I assume they don't put any like cortexes or anything in there because you're just going to get booted out, but the explorer in me wants to find out for sure. There's always that seed of doubt, and it's just, it's annoying. Now, my biggest, absolute biggest grievance with this game, and I know I'm not alone because I've seen it all over the forums, Reddits, etc., is the restrictions on the private expedition. That is just the stupidest feature they could have possibly implemented. Okay, for those that don't know, there is a private expedition feature in this game where you can set your game to private, just like in games like The Division. However, it is only usable for story. Strongholds I could see because they're designed to be 4-player maps. Fine. But there are people out there that are going to want to test their mettle trying to do a stronghold by themselves. But free play? Really? Why is free play locked? Now let me explain to you what happens when you can't private free play. Okay? The game has a forced matchmaking system, which means 4 people on the map at any given time. So if you go into free play by yourself, you're in there and it automatically throws 3 random people with you, which isn't a problem if that's your thing. But let's say your friend just logged on. Now, they can't join your game because your game is full. So the only way to fix this is to leave the expedition, invite your friend, and then reform the expedition. This goes right back to the whole immersion breaking issue. Why can't my friend just, boom, pop in right beside me and we go and continue whatever it was that one of us was doing? Having to drop out, reload, and then re-go is very frustrating and very annoying. It should be a seamless in and out. If I want to run a free play by myself, I should have that right. There should be 0 restrictions on that at all. I get that this game is designed for multiplayer, but what if you just want to go out and farm? What if you just want to go out and explore? You can't really do that if you have 3 other people, you know, out there with you. It doesn't make any sense, but whatever. I really hope that they fix that. If you're going to put private in, make it a standard across the board, either 100% in or 100% out. The whole half and half thing is just dumb. And I was really hoping this was just a demo thing. I was really hoping that they would fix this because there's a lot of negative feedback towards it. I really wish that they would fix this, and sadly it doesn't look like that is the case. Hopefully there's still a chance for it for patches in the 22nd. I'm very much crossing my fingers. We'll see. Let's move on to, should you buy this game? In my honest opinion, yes. You should absolutely buy this game. Now, why is that? Okay, so it is a standard BioWare game. It has a compelling and gripping story. It has a wonderful, diverse cast of characters. It has gorgeous graphics, beautiful scenery that makes it feel fun to explore. The verticality of the map is very engaging. It's very fun to watch and enjoy. It engrosses you. The combat is absolutely amazing. They literally blended your standard third-person shooter mechanics with action RPG mechanics, which really has never been done before. And it's done so seamless and so flawlessly that it's so fun. Not to mention the flying and the hovering that you can incorporate into your combos once you get more used to the system. It's so unique and just so fun and so refreshing. Okay, yeah, it has its issues, but again, what game doesn't? Especially a game that acts as an online live service. You're always going to have issues. They've already said, like I stated at the beginning, they've already said that there are thousands of fixes, that the majority of which won't even go live until the 22nd. So most of these things I've complained about here, and I've heard other people complain about, might not even be an issue anymore. We don't know. Because we don't know exactly what's going into the update come the 22nd when the game officially comes out. So who knows? This could be half the stuff in this video, or even all the stuff in this video could be a moot point. Well, the negative stuff anyway. I hope they don't get rid of some of the good stuff, because hello. But in my opinion, you should absolutely buy the game. The game is fun. Now, this is not an endorsement. This is just my opinion. Agree or disagree, I really don't care. I'm not being paid by anyone. I'm not being endorsed by anyone. This is my personal opinion. I think the game, even with its flaws, I personally believe that it is fun enough and engaging enough to be worth the $60. Or 80 in my case. But that's just my opinion. I know a buddy of mine, he's going to be playing on his Xbox with a friend through the share play. So, I mean, there's options. There's also various YouTube people out there who are giving away free copies, so there's that option as well. If it's not your thing, if you're not into the story-driven RPG type games, then you're probably not a BioWare fan anyway, so Anthem's probably not your thing. If you're just looking at Anthem as like a Warframe or a Destiny, this is not going to give you that. Anthem is literally nothing like Destiny or Warframe in any way, shape, or form. So if that's the experience you're trying to get, Anthem's not for you. Anthem plays, if you're looking for a direct comparison to another looter shooter type game, Anthem plays more like The Division than any other looter shooter out there. But its main focus is games like Mass Effect, Dragon Age. It uses Diablo 3's loot system as well as its difficulty scaling. So if you're looking for a hardcore, story-driven, immersive RPG experience that just happens to have guns, Anthem's for you. But if you're looking for a straight-up shooter, Anthem is not your bag. I'll tell you that right now. If you're expecting this to be anything like Division, or I'm sorry, Destiny or Warframe, this game is not that. So, contrary to what you may think based on its look, it is not either of those games in the slightest. But anyways, that's my opinion. Take it for what it is. Opinions vary, obviously. That's it for me today. Like and share, subscribe, hit that bell if you're interested in new content. If you think I'm wrong or right, you agree with me, don't agree with me, comment in the comment section below and let me know what you think. I would love to discuss it. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next time on the journey through Anthem.